What's going on YouTube? Kyle here from Does Kyle Dig It, the volleyball focused shoe review channel where we take signature and performance basketball shoes and review them for the sport of volleyball. As always, I'm your host Kyle, both a volleyball coach and a volleyball player. And today we've got a little bit of a special episode. Today we're going to be talking about the Hardens. As always, if you like this type of content, please like and subscribe. Drop down in the comments. Let me know what you think about the various different Hardens you see here or just the Harden line in general. Personally, I've been a big fan over the last couple of years, but without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into it. Since I've got a whole bunch of shoes out here, I'm not going to actually break down every shoe like I normally would in a review video. I'm going to save that till we get towards the end and we talk about the Harden 9s a little bit more because I've got some pretty strong opinions about these shoes and they just recently hit the market. So I wanted to make sure I got this video out quickly, before too many people out there, got their own reviews out and actually bought these shoes. But let's go ahead and go back in time a little ways because I think the Harden line's been really, really great over the last couple of years in various different ways and for various different reasons. There's just been a few caveats here and there, which has kept these from being, in my top 3 or top 5 list of shoes for every year. With the Harden Volume 6s, my kids that I coach actually call these my cow shoes because of the way that my particular colorway looked. But herringbone pattern, pretty good support and lockdown, great court feel, and really good bounciness. Only issue I had with them was the heel design with these little bulbs that are in the heels that you can see here. It just kind of caused a little bit of a weird feel when I actually had them locked down. But overall, a really fun pair of shoes. I'd say 8.5 out of 10 on these ones. But after the Volume 6s is where we get a really, really big jump in the way that the shoes were designed. So the Harden Volume 7s, I would say for me, these are a 9.5 out of 10 shoe. And this is when the design started to kind of change and shift from the single regular shoe design with the open top to this kind of sock booty that runs the entire length of the shoe, and then the actual shoe caging collapses around that sock booty that you put your foot in. I really enjoyed the Harden Volume 7s. I actually have 2 pairs of these shoes because I liked them so much. I had to get this Year of the Dragon colorway from a few years back just because they looked so cool and so unique compared to the regular design of the Harden Volume 7s. But I was a big fan of these shoes, and from this point forward is when we kind of get that singular sock booty design all the way through these shoes. Now, similar thing, we've got somewhat of a herringbone pattern that's kind of designed into these pockets and pads with a circular pattern on the heel. And as we move forward, that kind of pocketed pattern with the circles and then other traction continues on up through the Harden Volume 8s. Now, same thing, sock booty design and then wrapped in kind of a textile or like synthetic material that they have designed here. It's a little bit more rigid and a little bit more stable than some of the other shoes out there. So once you've got your foot in these shoes, all of them really lock you down inside. Big fan of that design, and when we go from the 7s to the 8s, my only thing is that the design on these is a little bit basic. They run a little bit longer than they need to as compared to previous models. So you've got this real big heel in the back end, and you've got actually a lot of space up here in the toe box on these. I went true to size. It was a little bit roomy, but not so much that I would say go down a half a size. But a lot of fun. Same thing, I went true to size in the Volume 7s as well, and pretty much a perfect fit every time on the 7s. 8s, just a little bit more roomy, but just you've got so much heel here. Now, that is great for those heel toe to transitions and those big heel dominant strides as you come into your penultimate steps for jumping and swinging, but it's a lot. It's a lot, and that's why I didn't quite like the 8s as much as the 7s, even though I actually do like these shoes and these are really great performers. Now, let's talk about the Harden Volume 9s. So I definitely think that we've hit the pinnacle of what they're going and transitioning for design-wise with these shoes, because I will say they are very cool looking. They've got a cool design to them, and again, we're still going with that single sock booty interior, right? However, these shoes are short, especially compared to their predecessors. There is a lot of extra room here in the 8s as compared to the 9s. I went true to size in the 9s, and my toes felt a little bit cramped in here. And that is especially compounded by this creasing across the toe that has occurred almost immediately upon my first wear of these shoes. This crease started to develop, and a little bit of pinching started to happen to my toes down in here in the corner. Not a great feel. If you are going to get these shoes, I definitely recommend going up a half size. If you've got really, really wide feet, especially in your toe box, you may even want to consider going up a full size just because of how narrow and how tight this toe box can be. And that kind of ends up being a trend throughout the shoe. So, more traditionally, as always, let's start with the traction. Same as the previous models, we've got the hot zone patterns that are running circular here, and then basic traction throughout the shoe, but it's a very, very, very thin biting material that's in here, a little bit different from kind of the pattern material that was in the volume 8s, or just the basic herringbone and circular pattern that was in the volume 7s. I will say I think that this is going to be a lot less durable, especially if you want to wear this outdoors potentially. So make sure you keep that in mind. These ones are probably going to be a lot more durable for outdoor use than the volume 9s. Also, because of how thin these are, the volume 9s were a little bit worse on traction than the volume 8s and the volume 7s. The volume 7s and 8s are in the 9.5 out of 10 on traction rating. These, I would say, are more 8.5 out of 10 on the traction rating, maybe even a little bit lower. On a dusty court, I was picking up a lot of dust. There was a little bit of slippage here and there. I did not like the traction performance of this shoe at all. Now, we move on up to the cushioning support. That is the one place that this shoe is the same as its predecessors. You've got great cushioning support. It's the Adidas, cushioning support that they've had in the Harden line for the last 3 models. It's excellent. It does a great job cushioning your foot, and you feel very, very springy. No complaints there on this shoe or any of the previous models, even including the 6s. But as we move on up to the lockdown and support, that's where, again, a lot of the issues start to show themselves. I've already talked about the toe box issues and a little bit of the pinching, plus that creasing, but this synthetic material, a little bit different from the synthetic material on the volume 8s that is running up this shoe. A little bit more rigid, a little bit more of a kind of like a pseudo leather feel to it. But because of how high these run on the outside of your shoe and on the inside of your foot, you're going to have some rubbing potentially. I had rubbing both on the interior sides of both feet while I was attempting to play, especially when I was trying to make quick lateral movements off the net for setting. I had a lot of discomfort and pinching and a little bit of uncomfortable rubbing from the top interior of these shoes. Now, maybe if I went up half a size, it would slightly be different because the fit would be better, but I still think these sides here, they run too high. Yes, super supportive. You are locked down in this shoe, but there's rubbing, there's discomfort, and if you're true to size, you might be a little bit cramped in these shoes. So that really just, it kind of almost ruined the shoe for me right out the gate. And then as we move around to the heel, I know that I complained about the large heel counter here in the volume 8s as compared to the volume 7s, which still have a great rounded shape on their heel, but just not this big protrusion that you see here in the 8s. However, I will take this large protrusion over this clunky heel that is in the volume 9s. But I mean, we've got, it is rounded just enough that you can get that nice roll, but it is nowhere near the predecessor shoes as far as actual heel-to-toe transition and comfort on those heel dominant strides. If you are attempting to actually make your penultimate steps in these shoes on a large approach jump, this heel is going to feel very clunky to you. It felt clunky to me. I did not like it at all. And then, of course, as you move up here, we've got the fake carbon fiber that they have in the heel, which I'm not sure why they do that. You can tell it's obviously not carbon fiber. It's flexible and like a, almost like the synthetic material here, but I guess they thought it looked cool, so they put that in the heel. But your heel's not going to feel good in the shoe. You might bottom out. It's going to feel a little bit clunky, and that is part of the only issue that really completely takes this shoe off the table for me, and why I almost will probably never wear it again, at least not while playing. It is uncomfortable. It runs narrow. It chafes and rubs on the sides of my feet. The heel is fake carbon fiber and super clunky. And not only that, but the traction isn't even as good as the two previous models. It's just such a disappointment to see an awesome shoe line where I liked all the last previous models. I've had them in rotations for a while. I still like wearing my Harden Volume 7s to both play and coach in. But despite the cool looks of these shoes, they are borderline unplayable in. Normally this is where we would go into the interior shoe, talk about some of the other things, but I've already mentioned the single sock booty upper. It is the exact same laces across the last three models. So much similarity. You can see where the design concepts have evolved to, but the design concepts have come at the cost of some of the performance of the shoe in this case. The Harden Volume 9s, I would say, are a 6.5 out of 10 at best for me, and that's even being a little bit generous. I do not dig these shoes at all, and I would not recommend. That being said, the Harden line has been so cool and so good for the last couple of years. And the Harden Volume 7s are on, you can find these really, really cheap right now at a discount. One of the best shoes from a few years back, and I would definitely recommend these. It's just such a disappointment that the newest model, the 9s, are just so lackluster despite looking so cool. Well, that is going to wrap it up for the Hardens and the Harden series, specifically my coverage of the brand new Harden Volume 9s. If you have these, drop down in the comments. Let me know what your experience has been with these shoes. Has it been better? Did you have a better experience? And was it because you didn't experience a lot of the things that I experienced when you wear these shoes? And again, if you like this type of content, please like and subscribe. Drop down in those comments. Let me know what type of shoes you'd like to see me review next. Next week, we're going to have another special where I'm actually going to talk about the difference between regular standard insoled shoes and drop-in midsoled shoes, because I've had a lot of questions about those over the last few weeks. So stay tuned for more from Does Kyle Dig It? This is Kyle, signing off.